Stop Overspending: How to Balance Enjoyment with Financial Security. Chapter 1: The Hidden Cost of Chasing Pleasure. The search for beauty and comfort is a fundamentally human endeavor. We are all drawn to moments that sparkle, to experiences that lift our spirits, and to objects that promise a little more ease and joy in our daily lives. There is nothing wrong with this desire. In fact, it's a beautiful part of what makes life worth living. We deserve to feel good. We deserve pleasure. The challenge, however, is that life's sweetest moments often come with a price tag, and too often we end up paying a hidden cost, a currency far more valuable than the dollars we hand over. We pay in peace. We pay in potential. We pay in the quiet, steady confidence that comes from knowing our future is secure. This is where the subtle art of imbalance begins. It's a gentle tipping of the scales where the fleeting joy of a purchase or an indulgence starts to outweigh the lasting security of careful planning. It is not always a dramatic event. More often, it is a quiet, steady seepage of resources, a drip, drip, drip of small decisions that, when viewed in isolation, seem completely harmless. Think about the structure of your average day. How many times are you presented with a small, attractive opportunity to spend just a little bit of money to feel just a little bit better right now? The extra fancy coffee on the way to work, the slightly nicer lunch delivery because you're tired, the subscription box promising a monthly dose of curated happiness, the online sale you scroll through late at night, telling yourself you deserve that little boost. These are the small indulgences. Individually, they barely register, but cumulatively, they create a current strong enough to pull you away from your long-term goals. They are the financial equivalent of 1,000 tiny cuts. They don't draw immediate, life-threatening amounts of wealth, but they leave your savings wounded and your peace of mind frayed. The pleasure is immediate, bright, and undeniable. The cost, however, is deferred, muted, and easy to ignore, until the end of the month or worse, until a true need arises and the funds simply aren't there. This constant chase after immediate comfort is often fueled by a powerful, yet rarely examined, force: social pressure. We are highly relational beings, and our spending habits are rarely an isolated activity. They are part of a broader social dialogue. We see the curated perfection of other people's lives, the beautiful trips, the effortless home decor, the perfect family gatherings, and a silent, often subconscious, negotiation begins in our minds. We start thinking, if I purchase this, I will belong. If I can afford that experience, I will be seen as successful, happy, or worthy. This isn't about deep greed. It's about a very human desire for connection and validation. We want to be part of the flow. We want our lives to feel just as beautiful and effortless as the ones we see reflected back to us. The subtle trap here is that we end up spending money not to genuinely enhance our own lives, but to manage the perception of our lives by others. We buy the expensive item because of the momentary elevation it gives us in a social setting. We agree to the costly dinner out even when our budget protests, simply because we dread the awkwardness of saying no. This kind of spending is a tax on our autonomy and our authenticity. It's the highest hidden cost of all, because it means we are outsourcing our financial decisions to the opinions and expectations of other people. The root of this imbalance always comes back to the classic psychological struggle: the desire to feel good now rather than later. Our brains are hardwired for immediate reward. A quick purchase delivers a palpable hit of dopamine, a feeling of satisfaction and control. Saving for the future, on the other hand, is an abstract reward. It requires patience, discipline, and a quiet faith in a time we haven't yet reached. It doesn't offer the immediate sparkle that a new gadget or an impulsive trip does. This is the central deceit of overspending. It convinces us that the quickest, most tangible path to happiness lies in consumption. We mistake the brief, electric thrill of acquiring something for the deep, resonant satisfaction of building something stable. The pleasure is real, but it is fleeting. It fades the moment the item is unwrapped, the meal is eaten, or the credit card bill arrives. To begin reclaiming your peace, you must first open your eyes to where joy ends and imbalance begins. This requires a gentle, non-judgmental awareness of your own emotional landscape around money. Take a moment to simply observe the feeling after a purchase. Does the item still bring a clear, bright sense of satisfaction 24 hours later? Or is the joy replaced by a subtle hum of anxiety, a soft whisper of regret, or a heavy sigh when you look at your account balance? When the feeling shifts from satisfaction to anxiety, that is your personal line. That is where the beautiful, healthy desire for pleasure has tipped into the zone of financial imbalance. Reclaiming your awareness is the first step toward true financial peace. It's not about cutting every pleasure out of your life. It's about bringing consciousness to every choice. You are not trying to deny yourself joy. You are simply trying to ensure that the small, momentary joys do not undermine the large, lasting joy of security. Ask yourself, not in a punishing way, but in a curious, reflective way. When I feel a strong impulse to buy, what emotion am I trying to fix or enhance? Is it boredom, loneliness, a desire to feel successful? Is this purchase creating beauty or clutter in my life? Does it add harmony, or does it add complexity and stress? What future comfort am I trading for this present pleasure? Am I trading 1 month of easy saving for 1 hour of retail therapy? The power of this inquiry lies in its neutrality. You are not judging your past choices. You are simply shining a light on the subtle mechanics of your decisions. This practice creates the necessary space between the impulse and the action, a space where true freedom resides. In that gap, you can choose to hold the scale steady. You can choose to honor the present desire without sacrificing the future security. The hidden cost of chasing pleasure is the loss of your inner calm. When you constantly operate from a place of need to acquire to feel good, you are always running, always seeking, always slightly off-center. True equilibrium is found when you realize that the most beautiful, stabilizing resource you possess is not the money in your account, but the calm confidence in your ability to manage it wisely. This journey is about achieving a deep and elegant balance, the point where your immediate life feels rich and beautiful, and your future self is well cared for. It's about recognizing that the greatest pleasure of all is living a life free from the weight of unnecessary financial worry. Reflection. Take a moment to think about one small, recurring indulgence in your week. That coffee, that subscription, that habit. How much peace would you gain if you decided to keep half of that money and direct it toward a goal you truly care about? True fulfillment isn't found in a frantic search for the next high, but in the quiet satisfaction of thoughtful, deliberate choice. Chapter 2. When treating yourself turns into trouble. We are often told that we deserve a little happiness. The modern lexicon is full of phrases encouraging us to be kind to ourselves. Self-care. You've earned it, and most frequently, treat yourself. And it's true, everyone absolutely deserves enjoyment. Life should include pleasures, moments of respite, and things that genuinely lift the spirit. A life lived only in denial is a life that quickly burns out. However, there is an incredibly fine, subtle line between healthy self-care and reckless self-sabotage. It's the point where a beautiful, earned moment of pleasure transitions into a habit that actually creates more stress than it relieves. This transition often happens quietly, masked by the comforting language of reward and necessity. The challenge is to recognize when treating yourself is no longer a gesture of genuine kindness, but a desperate emotional plaster. When you find yourself reaching for a purchase, a lavish experience, or a costly indulgence not because it brings enduring joy, but because you need a rapid, temporary fix for a deeper emotional state. This is the chapter where we learn to notice the emotional triggers behind overspending. We need to become keen observers of the internal weather that precedes a financial storm. Money decisions are rarely purely logical. They are almost always interwoven with our feelings, our stress levels, and our relationships. Think of your emotional state as the true barometer of your spending health. When the scale of your inner world is tipped, perhaps due to exhaustion, conflict, boredom, or anxiety, you are most vulnerable to seeking an external fix. The purchase becomes a compensatory act. For example, when you have had a particularly stressful, demanding week, your mind may instantly offer a solution. Go buy that thing you've been looking at. The logic is seductive. You suffered, so you must be rewarded. But the underlying truth is, you are simply exhausted, and the high of the purchase is an easier solution than the hard work of genuine rest, reflection, or boundary setting. We have to train ourselves to pause and decode the real message. When you feel that surge of compulsion to spend, ask yourself, what is the actual root emotion I am experiencing right now? Is it boredom? If so, the purchase won't cure the emptiness. A creative project or connection will. Is it loneliness? If so, the online shopping will only deepen the isolation. A phone call or meeting a friend will address the need. Is it insecurity? If so, the designer label won't make you inherently more worthy. Quiet confidence built through competence will. Is it anger or frustration? If so, the destructive spending spree is a temporary burst of misplaced energy. A calm walk or journaling will restore true equilibrium. When we use money as a shield against uncomfortable feelings, we are essentially training ourselves to avoid emotional processing. This is why the financial effects become so draining. You are not only spending your money, you are draining your emotional energy by perpetually replacing deep needs with fleeting, surface-level highs. You end up trading the calm, lasting peace of financial stability for a rush that evaporates quickly, often leaving guilt in its wake. Another key sign that a treat has turned toxic is when it becomes a ritual of avoidance. If you immediately reach for retail therapy every time you have a disagreement with a loved one, or every time you receive tough feedback at work, the spending has stopped being a simple pleasure and started being a maladaptive coping mechanism. True self-care is inherently restorative and balanced. It brings you back into equilibrium. A healthy treat leaves you feeling rested, whole, and financially aligned. A self-sabotaging treat leaves you with a temporary high followed by a crushing low of regret, anxiety, and a messy bank statement. Let's look at how this manifests in our relationships. So often, overspending isn't just about what we buy for ourselves. It's about what we spend on others in an effort to maintain harmony or win approval. We might use lavish gifts, or overly expensive social outings, or constantly picking up the tab as a way of managing the dynamics of a relationship. This is a form of people-pleasing spending. You spend too much because you fear that saying, "That's not in my budget," will cause conflict, disappointment, or a change in how someone perceives you. You buy the expensive round of drinks because you want to be seen as generous and effortless. You purchase the elaborate, unnecessary gift because you want the recipient's overwhelming display of gratitude. In this scenario, the money is not bringing pleasure. It's buying a form of emotional insurance. You are sacrificing your financial stability to try and control the emotional reactions of the people around you. This is financially draining and, crucially, completely ineffective in the long run. True, meaningful connection is built on honesty, not on the value of a purchase. To reverse this pattern, we must introduce a pause and evaluation step before spending. When you feel the urge to purchase, stop. Close the browser, set the item down, or step away from the conversation. Then perform a quick internal inventory, the true cost check. The monetary price is only the visible surface. What is the real cost? Is it the loss of 1 month of savings? Is it a hit to your emergency fund? Is it another layer of debt you have to manage? Be relentlessly honest about the domino effect of this one decision. 2. The emotional transfer test. Ask, if I don't buy this, what emotion will I have to sit with instead? This is the key. You must be willing to acknowledge and tolerate that uncomfortable emotion, the impatience, the frustration, the feeling of lack, instead of immediately transferring it onto the purchase. Sitting with the discomfort is where true emotional muscle is built. 3. The lasting joy evaluation. Imagine the item or the experience in 1 month. Will the positive feeling outweigh the financial consequence then? If the joy is guaranteed to be fleeting and the regret is guaranteed to linger, the scales are clearly unbalanced. Healthy enjoyment is a peaceful addition to your life. It is something you choose from a place of abundance and stability. Reckless spending is a frantic reaction to an emotional deficit. Your ultimate goal is to become so attuned to your internal world that you can meet your emotional needs with the right tool, a tool that is free, enduring, and non-destructive. If you are sad, use connection. If you are stressed, use stillness. If you are bored, use creativity. Stop draining your energy and bank account on fleeting highs. Start investing that energy into the foundational security that brings the deepest, most reliable form of peace. That peace is the truest luxury of all. Reflection. Think of the last 2 impulsive purchases you made. Pinpoint the exact emotion you were feeling moments before you spent the money. Could you have addressed that core feeling in a way that cost $0 and brought more lasting relief? Commit to using one non-financial form of self-care the next time an emotional trigger arises. This is the next chapter, continuing the reflective and harmonious narrative style. Chapter 3. The tug-of-war between security and fun. In the pursuit of a well-lived life, we inevitably encounter a fundamental, persistent tension. It is a negotiation that takes place daily within the quiet confines of our own minds. The compelling desire for fun and rich experiences versus the solemn responsibility of securing our future and stability. This is the great financial tug-of-war, and if you feel constantly pulled in 2 separate directions, know that you are in vast company. This is arguably the hardest financial struggle of all, because both sides of the rope represent something genuinely good, necessary, and vital to human flourishing. It is the clash between the beautiful, vibrant energy of the present moment and the calm, steady assurance of the years ahead. It feels so difficult to choose between them because, fundamentally, you shouldn't have to. The root of the tension lies not in the needs themselves, but in the dualistic thinking that insists one must be destroyed for the other to survive. We mistakenly believe we must be either hedonistic spenders who burn brightly and quickly, or ascetic hoarders who live in perpetual denial while gazing at a distant horizon. But a truly balanced life is a work of elegant integration, not a battle of elimination. To move toward peace, we must first understand the nature of the 2 opposing forces. The pull of the present. The desire for fun, for pleasure, and for memorable experiences is immediate, sensory, and highly tangible. When you spend money on an experience, a trip, a concert, a lovely dinner with friends, the reward is delivered instantly. You feel the satisfaction, you create the memory, and you fulfill a social or emotional need right now. This part of your being is driven by the self you are right now, The self who is tired from work, the self who craves connection, the self who sees beauty and wants to possess it, even temporarily. This present self argues passionately and convincingly. The future is never guaranteed. I should enjoy the journey. I deserve this moment of relief. These are not frivolous arguments. They hold profound truth. If we deny the present self entirely, we become brittle, resentful, and prone to sudden, catastrophic spending binges as a form of rebellion. The call of the future. The responsibility of securing your future, however, is quiet, abstract, and often feels distant. When you save or invest money, there is no immediate rush of adrenaline, no tangible object to hold. The reward is future-dated peace, an eventual feeling of freedom from worry, and the serene knowledge that you have built a foundation of safety. This is driven by your commitment to your future self, the self who will inevitably age, who might face unexpected challenges, and who deserves a life of dignity and choice. The future self calls with a calm, rational voice. If you do not plan for me, you will create stress and unnecessary burdens down the road. Peace requires preparation. These arguments, too, hold profound truth. If we indulge the present self entirely, we create a future self burdened by regret, debt, and constant anxiety. The goal is not to declare a winner. The goal is to negotiate a permanent treaty between the two, making peace with the tension. The breakthrough occurs when you realize that the future self and the present self are not separate entities locked in combat. They are simply two phases of the same beautiful, continuous life. When you save, you are not denying the present. You are committing an act of kindness for your future self. When you spend mindfully on joy, you are enriching the foundation of memories that will support your future self. To make peace with this tension, you must bring the abstract needs of the future into the tangible reality of the present. The most effective tool for this integration is intentional division. Instead of seeing your income as one large, messy pool that must satisfy two competing masters, you must create distinct, dedicated funds for each purpose. This removes the need for constant, agonizing internal debate. When you divide your resources into non-negotiable categories, security, needs, and enjoyment, you build a framework where all three can coexist peacefully. First, set your security fund commitment. This is the portion of your income dedicated to savings, investments, and debt reduction. This must be treated as a fixed expense, like rent or utilities, and transferred immediately. By honoring this commitment, you are essentially paying your future self's peace dividend. You are saying, future self, you are important, and your peace is non-negotiable. Second, set your enjoyment fund. This is the portion of your income that is explicitly designated for discretionary fun, pleasure, and indulgence. This money is guilt-free. Once the security fund is funded, any spending from the enjoyment fund is fully sanctioned and should be enjoyed without the sting of regret. By establishing this, you are saying, present self, you are valued and your happiness is non-negotiable. The magic of this method is that it transforms the emotional landscape. When you look at an opportunity to spend, the question is no longer, should I save or should I spend? Which is a conflict. The question becomes, does this purchase fit within the boundaries of my already funded enjoyment fund? This is simply a matter of resource allocation and choice, which is a position of calm control. The principle of the future self contract. To further cement this piece, you need to make the future tangible. The present self often feels that the future self is a stranger, making it easy to sacrifice. To overcome this, create a future self contract. Write a letter to your current self from the perspective of your 50-year-old self, your 60-year-old self, or whatever milestone feels relevant. Describe the peace, the freedom, and the lightness that your current saving habits have created. Detail the things the future self is able to do: travel, retire early, help family, because of the discipline being exercised today. Conversely, describe the anxiety, the restriction, and the pain that the future self would face if the present self decides to overspend today. This simple exercise closes the emotional distance between the two versions of you. It makes the trade-off immediate and personal. You stop seeing saving as a form of denial and start seeing it as a powerful act of self-loyalty across time, choosing high-quality enjoyment. Finally, to make the enjoyment fund stretch and maximize its positive impact, you must introduce the concept of the joy audit. Not all fun spending is created equal. Some spending brings a sharp, intense but brief rush, followed by a quick crash, the impulsive purchase. Other spending brings a deep, resonant, and lasting pleasure that enhances your life for weeks, months, or even years. A skill-building course, a meaningful trip, an investment in a durable, beautiful piece of furniture. Use your enjoyment fund exclusively for high-quality, resonant joy. Before spending from the fun budget, ask, will this purchase create a lasting memory, deepen a connection, or genuinely improve the quality of my daily life? Or will it simply be clutter tomorrow? By eliminating the low-quality, impulsive spending, the spending driven by emotion rather than intention, you free up resources to fund the genuinely enriching experiences. This allows you to spend less overall while dramatically increasing your perceived quality of life. You replace the frantic need for more with the quiet contentment of better. Making peace with the tension between security and fun means moving away from the extreme positions. It means accepting that both stability and joy are foundational pillars of an elegant, well-structured existence. When you dedicate resources to both with intentionality, you cease fighting the tug-of-war and begin enjoying the graceful dance of a life lived in thoughtful balance. You recognize that the harmony between preparation and pleasure is the ultimate achievement of financial maturity. Reflection. Identify one thing you consistently spend money on for fun, your present self treat, and one thing you are saving for your future self goal. How can you link the two so that the enjoyment today actually feels like a productive step toward the goal? For instance, buying a healthy meal today is not just fun, but an investment in the health that allows your future self to enjoy retirement. Find the elegant connection between present joy and future peace. This is the next chapter, continuing the emphasis on emotional equilibrium, grace, and finding peace after financial turbulence, aligning with the core essence of the required tone. Chapter 4. Breaking the Cycle of Financial Guilt. One of the most insidious hidden costs of overspending is the emotional wreckage it leaves behind. The moment the fleeting high of the purchase fades, it is often replaced by a familiar, heavy sequence of emotions: guilt, shame, and deep regret. This emotional residue is not just unpleasant, it is financially destructive because it can easily lock you into a self-perpetuating cycle. Think of it as a spiral. You spend impulsively because you feel bad, stressed, or deprived. This brings a brief lift. Then, when the reality of the balance hits, you feel shame and guilt over your lack of discipline. The heaviness of the shame makes you feel even worse about yourself. And what do many people do when they feel terribly low? They reach for a quick fix, often in the form of another soothing purchase, thus starting the whole cycle again. Spend right arrow, regret right arrow, spend again. To break free from this pattern, we must recognize that this cycle is primarily fueled by self-judgment and a lack of emotional clarity. The first step toward freedom is offering yourself a profound, gentle forgiveness. You must understand that money mistakes do not define you. Your worth as a person is not measured by the numbers in your bank account or the balance on your credit card. Money is simply a tool, and you are a complex human being learning to wield that tool with wisdom. To err is human. To be relentlessly self-critical for that error is a needless self-punishment that delays your ability to change. The beauty of a fresh perspective is that it allows you to see the mistake not as a flaw in your character, but as a piece of data. What did the overspending tell you about your mood? What tension was it trying to alleviate? Did it happen when you were tired, angry, or alone? The moment you move from "I am a bad person for spending this" to "I was seeking comfort because I was deeply tired," you shift from shame to understanding. Understanding is the foundation of genuine, lasting change. Stepping out of the loop with grace. Grace is the quality of moving through life's imperfections with ease and dignity. When addressing financial mistakes, grace means you cease the internal war against yourself. Instead of being trapped in the spend right arrow regret loop, you must intentionally insert a new step. Acknowledge, analyze, right arrow, adjust. 1. Acknowledge. Do not stuff the guilt down. When you feel the familiar surge of regret after a purchase, simply acknowledge it without self-abuse. Say quietly to yourself, "I feel regret about that spending choice, and that is okay. It is a natural consequence of the action." This validation stops the guilt from escalating into shame. 2. Analyze. With the emotion acknowledged, immediately pivot to a place of neutral curiosity. Ask the questions we discussed earlier. What was the trigger? What emotional need was I trying to meet? Write down the honest answer. This turns the mistake into a lesson plan for the future. 3. Adjust. Based on the analysis, commit to a small, actionable adjustment for the next 24 hours. Not a massive, punitive overhaul, but a simple, practical boundary. The next time I feel this specific stress, I will close my computer and take a 10-minute walk instead of browsing online. This step replaces passive regret with active control. This three-step process is crucial because it transforms the energy of guilt, which is stagnant and backward-looking, into the forward-moving energy of clarity and intention. Forgiveness and the future balance. Forgiveness in the financial context is the decision to release the debt of the past moment and apply your energy entirely to the creation of a better future. The past spending is done. The money is gone. No amount of self-flagellation will bring it back. The only thing the guilt is costing you now is your present peace and your ability to plan effectively. When you allow guilt to consume you, you inevitably make poorer decisions moving forward. The stress of the debt or the low balance creates a sense of panic, which often leads to more erratic spending, either as a final, "what's the point?" splurge or an overcompensation in another area. Instead, commit to an act of restorative balance. If you spent too much in one area this week, gently and calmly allocate a slightly larger portion to your savings fund next week. This is not punishment. It is a restoration of harmony. You are deliberately realigning the scales that were temporarily tipped. This creates a powerful feeling of control and competence. The beauty of transparency. If you share finances with a partner or loved one, the cycle of financial guilt can be amplified by secrecy and fear of judgment. Overspending that is hidden is exponentially more emotionally damaging. Transparency is the ultimate antidote to financial shame. Hiding a purchase or a bill allows the guilt to fester in the dark corners of your mind, giving it immense power. Bringing the issue into the light with a trusted, loving partner immediately reduces its power. This doesn't mean having a harsh, accusatory confrontation. It means initiating a conversation from a place of shared vulnerability and commitment to the future. Frame the discussion not as "I messed up," but as "I am learning," And I need us to observe this pattern together so we can build a better system for our shared peace. A supportive partner will see your willingness to be honest and vulnerable as a profound act of trust, which strengthens the relationship, a far more valuable return than any impulsive purchase could ever offer. By acknowledging the mistake openly, you replace the heavy burden of secret-keeping with the shared, lighter responsibility of collective problem-solving. Breaking the cycle of financial guilt requires you to treat yourself not as an opponent who must be conquered, but as a cherished friend who needs gentle guidance and fierce compassion. The next time you feel the sting of regret, do not run from it. Turn toward it with calm curiosity, learn the lesson it has to offer, and then, with grace and renewed clarity, step forward into the next moment with the firm intention of making a choice that serves your total peace. This commitment to balanced, forward-looking action is the true definition of financial freedom. Reflection. What single word describes the feeling you have most often right after realizing you've overspent? Now, reframe that word. Instead of letting it feel like a judgment, treat it as a signal. What specific change should that signal prompt you to make next time? Resolve to greet that signal with calm analysis instead of instinctive avoidance or self-punishment. Chapter 5. Redefining what true enjoyment means. We are conditioned to believe that happiness is something we acquire. We are bombarded with messages suggesting that the feeling of contentment is directly linked to the act of consumption. But if you pause and reflect on your deepest, most cherished memories, you'll quickly realize that the moments that truly define joy rarely, if ever, come with a receipt. True enjoyment doesn't have to come with a hefty financial price tag. In fact, when we rely on consumption to deliver happiness, the pleasure is almost always short-lived, demanding yet another purchase to maintain the feeling. This continuous chase is exhausting and keeps us locked into a cycle of dependency. This chapter invites you to embark on a subtle, profound shift, to redefine enjoyment, not as consumption, but as experiences, connections, and choices that bring lasting satisfaction. It's about opening the door to a lifestyle that feels rich, fulfilling, and, crucially, financially sound. The shift from acquiring to appreciating. The most significant barrier to redefining joy is the mistaken belief that the newness of a purchase is the source of happiness. We confuse the excitement of the novel with the deep satisfaction of the resonant. To restore balance, we must shift our focus from acquiring things to appreciating life. Appreciation requires awareness and presence. It means taking the time to truly notice the beauty, comfort, and utility of the things you already own. It means cherishing the well-made sweater you invested in 2 years ago, or finally using the beautiful stationery you bought and stored away. When you fully appreciate what is already in your life, the relentless pressure to add something new immediately diminishes. You realize you are not living in lack. You are living in abundance. You simply haven't been paying attention. This practice is inherently stabilizing. It anchors your attention in the present reality of your wealth, not just financial wealth, but the wealth of resources, comfort, and relationships surrounding you. This calm appreciation is the most elegant counterforce to the frantic urge to consume. Joy as connection, not collection. The most profound and durable forms of human happiness are found in connection. Yet, we often allow our pursuit of financial status or material possessions to interfere with, or even replace, the cultivation of deep relationships. We buy things to impress people, or we spend money on expensive activities just to be with people, rather than focusing on the quality of the interaction itself. True enjoyment is often found in shared, low-cost activities where the focus is entirely on the bond, not the backdrop. Consider the difference between a highly choreographed, expensive night out and a simple, genuine evening spent preparing a meal together or having a long, reflective conversation over tea. The expensive night creates a fleeting memory of luxury. The simple evening creates a deepened intimacy and a lasting memory of connection. One requires a receipt, the other requires only your presence and attention. Redefining joy means intentionally prioritizing time and presence over expense. Invest your energy, your thought, and your genuine interest into your relationships. Organize gatherings that minimize financial strain but maximize interaction. A potluck, a group walk in a beautiful park, a shared project. This subtle change will not only stabilize your finances, but will dramatically increase the perceived richness of your social life. The power of sensory pleasure. We often think of pleasure in purely material terms, ignoring the simple, profound joys available through our five senses, which are often free or very low cost. Imagine the satisfaction of a clean, organized space. This costs time and effort, but its return is a deep, daily sense of peace and aesthetic harmony. Consider the pleasure of cooking a healthy, delicious meal from simple ingredients, a joy far more resonant and health-affirming than ordering expensive takeout. Think about the sensory delight of a well-curated playlist, the feel of comfortable linens, or the quiet beauty of watching a sunset. These are high-return, low-investment pleasures. They elevate your daily experience without creating financial anxiety. By tuning into these sensory forms of enjoyment, you train your mind to associate happiness with mindfulness and creation, rather than with the external act of buying. When you intentionally seek out these forms of enjoyment, you are creating an internal environment that is less susceptible to the lures of marketing and impulse. You become a connoisseur of your own life, seeking quality of experience over quantity of possessions, creating space for lasting satisfaction. Ultimately, redefining enjoyment means understanding the difference between a fleeting high and lasting satisfaction. A fleeting high is often fast, external, and demands repetition. It's the immediate rush of a new bag or a high-end gadget. Lasting satisfaction is slow, internal, and creates a sense of peaceful fulfillment. It's the satisfaction of completing a meaningful project, mastering a new skill, nurturing a deep friendship, or watching your savings account steadily grow. Lasting satisfaction is built through intentional choices and effort, not through passive consumption. Ask yourself, what is the most beautiful thing I can invest my time, rather than my money, into today? Perhaps it is learning a skill that brings future earning potential or lifelong enjoyment. Perhaps it is volunteering your time, which brings the profound satisfaction of contribution and purpose. Perhaps it is simply devoting an evening to calmly organizing your home, which provides a lasting sense of control and aesthetic pleasure. By shifting your investment from money to time and effort, you are essentially funding your life with a non-depleting resource, your personal energy and intention. The door to a truly fulfilling life is opened when we cease defining our worth by what we can afford to buy and start measuring it by the quality of the experiences we intentionally create. This shift from buyer to creator is the key to a lifestyle that feels both deeply satisfying and perpetually stable. It is the recognition that the richest life is one built not on receipts, but on resonant, beautiful, and meaningful choices. Reflection. For the next few days, identify one moment of genuine, peaceful enjoyment that cost you absolutely no money. Analyze that moment. What specific, non-monetary elements made it satisfying, e.g., connection, stillness, beauty, achievement? Commit to intentionally recreating one of those no-cost moments every day this week, proving to yourself that true abundance is already within reach. This is the next chapter, focusing on practical implementation, finding the personal, sweet spot of financial harmony, and using tools that feel supportive rather than restrictive, maintaining the balanced and reflective tone. Chapter 6: Finding the Balance Point. The central quest of this entire journey is the pursuit of equilibrium. It's the constant, elegant search for the point where enjoyment is satisfying but not excessive, and security is robust but not restrictive. Every person has a personal, sweet spot, a unique financial balance point that feels perfectly aligned with their life, values, and responsibilities. This chapter is about moving from reflection to action. It's about learning practical ways to find your unique balance point, using tools that feel less like punishment and more like supportive structures for a life well lived. The goal is not denial. The goal is deep, resonant harmony. The principle of the measured scale. Finding your balance point requires you to treat your finances like a scale where every choice matters. When one side tips too far, either toward pure indulgence or extreme frugality, the entire structure becomes unstable. Your task is to become the calm, impartial operator of that scale. The most effective tool for maintaining this equilibrium is mindful spending. This is far more sophisticated than simply tracking expenses. It is about bringing complete awareness and intention to every outflow of energy, ensuring it aligns with the life you truly want to create. Before any purchase, large or small, you must introduce a deliberate pause. During this pause, ask the three key questions that determine if the expense is moving you toward or away from your balance point. 1. Is this a want or a need that I cannot easily substitute? Be rigorously honest. Most wants are disguised as needs. 2. What is the joy-to-cost ratio? Is the lasting pleasure I will gain truly worth the impact on my future financial peace? 3. Does this fit the framework I already created? Does my budget, my intentional plan have a space for this? Mindful spending transforms your money from an object of anxiety into a tool of intentional creation. You are deciding where your energy should flow, rather than letting impulse dictate the course. Intentional budgeting that doesn't restrict. The word budget often carries a negative connotation, suggesting restriction and deprivation. To find your sweet spot, you must redefine your budget. It is not a cage. It is a blueprint for freedom. It is the plan that ensures you have the necessary funds to care for both your present joy and your future security. The most supportive way to budget is to use the intentional allocation method, which requires setting money aside for specific, emotionally distinct goals. The anchor, security. This is non-negotiable. It covers debt repayment and savings. This money is untouchable and represents the stable foundation of your life. The structure needs. This covers fixed, essential expenses, rent, groceries, utilities. This represents your baseline well-being. The bloom, enjoyment. This is your guilt-free spending pot. Once the anchor is funded, this money is explicitly designated for discretionary fun, hobbies, and personal pleasures. The key to balance here is to fund all three simultaneously, but in proportional amounts. If you find your enjoyment pot consistently empty, you need to adjust your spending in the needs category, perhaps by cutting recurring subscriptions or reducing food delivery. You never fund enjoyment by stealing from the security anchor. This respectful separation is what maintains the long-term balance. The art of boundary setting. No matter how disciplined you are, external forces can pull you off balance. This is where boundary setting becomes your most potent protective measure. This applies particularly to social spending and the pressure to keep up with others. Setting boundaries is not about being stingy. It's about honoring your prior commitment to your own peace. When you are invited to an expensive event or pressured into a purchase that falls outside your bloom budget, You must have a graceful, prepared response. Examples of balanced boundary responses, instead of, I can't afford that, which feels defensive. Try, that sounds wonderful, but I've already dedicated this month's fun money to my trip. Could we do a quieter coffee date instead? This frames the choice as an intentional priority you are honoring, not a deprivation. Instead of, I wish I could buy that, which invites pity. Try, I'm focused on a larger financial goal right now, so I'm holding off on any major purchases. I'm really enjoying the simplicity. This presents the decision as a deliberate lifestyle choice you are proud of. Effective boundaries are always delivered with calmness and grace. They state your limit without criticizing the other person's choice. By setting a boundary, you are preserving your own financial equilibrium and teaching others how to respect your commitment to stability. This is an elegant act of self-respect. Continuous calibration, the gentle check-in. Finding your sweet spot isn't a one-time achievement, it's a continuous calibration. Life changes, your income changes, your goals change. Your idea of fun evolves. You must perform gentle, regular check-ins to ensure your scale hasn't subtly tipped again. Once a month, ask yourself two simple, reflective questions. 1. Am I feeling stressed or resentful about my spending? If yes, the scale is tipped toward too much restriction. You need to allocate slightly more to the Bloom Fund next month to prevent burnout. 2. Am I feeling anxious or guilty about my financial future? If yes, the scale is tipped toward too much indulgence. You need to tighten the boundaries on your Bloom spending and increase your anchor commitment next month. The answers to these questions are not judgments, they are simply indicators. They guide you back toward the center point of harmony. The ultimate aim is to feel calmly in control. When you are truly at your balance point, your spending feels like an effortless expression of your deepest values, and your savings provide a quiet, unwavering confidence. This sweet spot is a space of serene alignment, where you are neither rushing toward the next high nor paralyzed by fear of the future. The peace of balance is the greatest reward for this intentional, thoughtful work. Reflection. Think about a financial decision you are currently facing. Apply the three-step mindful spending questions to it. Need or want? Joy to cost ratio. Does it fit the framework? Use the answers to make the most balanced choice. And notice how much calmer you feel when the decision is rooted in clarity rather than impulse. This is the next chapter, focusing on aligning spending with core values, emphasizing the idea of money as energy, and reflecting the thoughtful, meaningful application of resources characteristic of the desired tone. Chapter 7. Turning money into a reflection of your values. Money is often seen merely as a tool for transaction, a necessary exchange for goods and services. But at a deeper, more profound level, money is pure energy. It is a representation of the time, effort, and skill you invest into the world. And how you spend that energy is the clearest, most honest reflection of what truly matters to you. When overspending occurs, it's often because there is a fundamental disconnect. We are sending our financial energy in one direction, while our deepest, most cherished values lie in another. This split creates internal friction, leading to the guilt and imbalance we've already discussed. When your choices contradict your core beliefs, you feel fragmented and unsettled. This chapter teaches you how to align your spending with your deepest priorities. When your financial choices mirror your values, every dollar spent feels meaningful, powerful, and intentional, rather than wasted or accidental. The value audit, defining your core pillars. Before you can align your spending, you must clearly define what you value. This requires a value audit, a gentle, reflective process where you identify the 3 to 5 core pillars of your ideal life. Ask yourself, When I look back on my life, what will I be most proud of having invested in? Common values include connection relationships, investing in quality time, shared experiences, and support for loved ones. Health well-being, investing in nutritious food, restful sleep environments, movement, and mental clarity. Growth learning, investing in books, courses, travel that expands perspective and skill development. Aesthetics beauty, investing in a peaceful, well-organized home, high quality, long-lasting items and art. Freedom security, investing in savings, debt reduction, and resources that buy future time and choice. Identify the top 3 values that resonate most powerfully with you right now. Write them down. These are your spending filters. Using values as your spending filter. Once your values are clear, every financial decision moves through them. This practice transforms spending from an impulsive reaction into a thoughtful act of self-expression. If, for example, your top value is connection, an expensive new gadget, which is personal and solitary, would be filtered out. But a moderate expense on a dinner where you can have a meaningful, uninterrupted conversation with an important person, which fosters connection, would be approved, even if it uses up a chunk of your enjoyment budget. The expenditure is justified because it directly funds your primary value. Similarly, if aesthetics is a top value, you might choose to spend more on one high-quality, durable piece of furniture that brings enduring beauty to your living space, and less on numerous, cheap, disposable decorations that quickly become visual clutter. You are optimizing your money to create a balanced, beautiful environment, not just to accumulate things. When you align spending with values, the feeling is transformed. Instead of the sinking feeling of "I spent too much money," you gain the empowering conviction of "I successfully invested my resources into what truly matters to me." Even money spent feels meaningful, rather than wasted. Creating beauty through investment. The energy of money can be used not just to consume, but to create beauty and order in your life. This is where the quiet, consistent act of saving and investing becomes a reflection of your deeper values of security and peace. Saving is not deprivation. It is a beautiful commitment to your future well-being. It is the practice of delayed gratification, which shows a profound respect for your future self. When you fund your savings, you are confirming your value of freedom, because every dollar saved is a tiny piece of future choice you are securing for yourself. To make saving feel as intentional as spending, assign a value label to each savings pot. Instead of simply naming it savings account, rename it to reflect the value it represents. The Peace Fund reflects the value of security. The Perspective Fund reflects the value of growth travel. The Generosity Fund reflects the value of connection giving. By labeling your savings with your values, you give them emotional resonance and purpose. You are no longer mindlessly transferring money. You are funding your ideal future self. The harmony of generosity. A powerful way to align money with values is through intentional generosity. Giving money, whether to charity, a community cause, or a friend in need, is one of the most fulfilling ways to spend, because it shifts the focus entirely from the self to the collective good. This is a beautiful act of relational balance. It reminds you that you are part of a larger whole, and that your resources can be used to alleviate suffering and promote harmony beyond your own 4 walls. Even small, consistent acts of giving can dramatically increase your feeling of financial abundance and emotional richness. It reinforces the value of connection by turning money into a tool for positive impact. To integrate this gracefully, include a small, consistent amount for generosity in your intentional allocation plan. This ensures that the energy of your money is always flowing outward, creating a beautiful circulation that reinforces your sense of purpose. In the end, Turning money into a reflection of your values is the act of aligning your internal compass with your external choices. It is the deep realization that you are the sole curator of your financial life. When you spend in alignment, your money ceases to be a source of stress or temptation and becomes an elegant, powerful tool for creating a life that is truly meaningful, beautiful, and wholly yours. Reflection. Look at your top financial outflow from last month, excluding essentials like rent/mortgage. What value did that spending actually serve? Was it one of your core values, or was it a reaction to a momentary pressure or impulse? How can you gently redirect that same amount of money next month toward an expense that truly aligns with your top written value? This is the next chapter, focusing on how structure, planning, and habits contribute to a beautiful and lasting financial life, emphasizing aesthetic harmony and peace, aligning with the core essence of the desired tone. Chapter 8. Building Financial Beauty That Lasts. In the pursuit of a beautiful life, we often focus on external aesthetics, the perfectly curated wardrobe, the elegant home decor, the stunning vacation photo. Yet true, enduring beauty begins with structure and planning, especially in our financial lives. Instead of chasing the next purchase for a fleeting sense of sparkle, this chapter shows you how to create lasting beauty in your finances. Financial beauty isn't about having the largest sum of money. It's about having a system that is orderly, proportional, and peaceful. It's the quiet elegance that comes from knowing every dollar has a job, every future is accounted for, and your entire financial life operates with a graceful, low-stress hum. The aesthetics of order, from clutter to clarity. Just as a cluttered room feels chaotic and drains your energy, a cluttered financial life, with disorganized accounts, unread statements, and forgotten subscriptions, creates a constant background noise of anxiety. Clarity is the foundation of financial beauty. The first step in building this lasting beauty is to introduce order. This means establishing systems that are effortless to maintain. Automate everything. Make your savings and bill payments automatic. This removes the need for constant, manual decision-making and ensures your core structure is always intact. Automation is the financial equivalent of setting a beautiful, unchanging foundation. Designate accounts. Separate your money into clearly labeled accounts, e.g., checking, emergency anchor, long-term investment, fund bloom. This visual and functional separation eliminates confusion and prevents the accidental spending of funds designated for security. Each account serves a specific, respected purpose. Review regularly, not frantically. Establish a gentle, monthly rhythm for financial review. This isn't a stressful audit. It's a calm check-in to appreciate the growth and course-correct any minor deviations. Regularity brings peace. Sudden, panicked reviews bring stress. By introducing this level of order, you transform your financial landscape from a messy attic into a beautifully organized library, where everything is easily accessible and clearly defined. This structure brings more freedom, not less, because you know exactly where you stand. Seeing structure as freedom. It may seem counterintuitive, but financial structure is the ultimate pathway to liberation. Without clear boundaries and planning, your choices are dictated by impulse, external pressure, and fear. You are perpetually reacting. With a thoughtful financial plan, you are proactively creating your options. Saving is not about what you can't buy today. It's about what you are guaranteed to be able to do later. Investing in a durable plan means investing in future time, future travel, future comfort, and the freedom to walk away from situations that compromise your well-being. The beauty of this structure lies in its predictability. When you know that your security net is strong, you feel empowered to take calculated risks, enjoy your present, and live with less hesitation. The savings are the aesthetic buffer that protects the beauty of your daily life from unexpected turbulence. Thoughtful investments, building enduring value. When you think about investing, don't just consider the potential monetary return. Consider the value return. Thoughtful investments, whether in financial markets, a new skill, or a tangible asset, are a reflection of your commitment to building enduring value. Focus on quality over quantity. Instead of chasing fleeting trends, invest in assets that are resilient, sustainable, and aligned with your long-term values. This applies not just to money, but to purchases. Investing in one durable, well-crafted item that will last a decade is far more financially beautiful than buying 10 cheaper items that will soon break, creating waste and needing replacement. This perspective elevates your decision-making. You are not just buying something. You are making a long-term commitment to quality, resilience, and sustainability, both for your personal finances and the wider world. This deliberate choice is the essence of financial elegance, the cumulative effect of beautiful habits. Financial beauty is not built in a single grand gesture, but through the cumulative effect of beautiful, small habits. Just as consistent, small acts of kindness deepen a relationship, consistent, small acts of financial intention build enduring wealth and peace. These habits should feel gentle, not grinding. The 10-minute tidy. Spend 10 minutes each week clearing out unneeded financial clutter, unsubscribing from marketing emails, checking for unused subscriptions, organizing digital files. The small security deposit. Automatically transfer a small, symbolic amount to your investment account every week, regardless of how much you earn. This habit reinforces your commitment to security and keeps the positive momentum flowing. The gratitude review. Before paying any bill, pause and briefly acknowledge the value that service brought to your life, e.g., thanking your power company for light, your landlord for shelter. This turns a necessary outflow into an act of mindful appreciation, changing the emotional tone around spending. When these small habits are performed consistently, they create a rhythmic, peaceful flow to your financial life. This is the ultimate achievement of financial beauty. A life where money management is not a source of conflict or stress, but a calm, integrated part of your overall well-being and aesthetic harmony. You have successfully sculpted your financial future into a form that brings you lasting peace and confidence. Reflection. Look at your financial systems right now. What is one area that feels cluttered or disorganized, e.g., scattered passwords, too many unused subscriptions, messy files? Commit to spending 20 minutes this week bringing order to that one small area. Notice the immediate lift in your emotional energy and sense of calm that comes from creating financial clarity. This is the next chapter, focusing on resolving indecision by applying clarity, confidence, and balanced perspective, continuing the thoughtful and measured tone. Chapter 9. Overcoming indecision around spending. One of the most paralyzing feelings in financial life is indecision. You stand at the crossroads of a potential purchase or even a potential savings deposit and find yourself stuck. Should I buy it? Should I save that money instead? Is this the right time? This hesitation and second guessing can leave you emotionally exhausted and fiscally stuck, preventing you from moving forward with confidence. This state of financial limbo is the antithesis of the harmony we seek. Indecision is a heavy weight that prevents the graceful, forward motion of a well-balanced life. It stems from a fear of making the wrong choice, a fear often rooted in past mistakes or a lack of clear criteria for decision-making. This chapter helps you cut through financial indecision with clarity and confidence, teaching you how to trust your judgment without tipping into recklessness or impulsiveness. The source of the stalemate. Indecision arises when the two opposing forces, the desire for immediate pleasure and the need for future security, are given equal, unmanaged weight. Without a clear framework, your mind simply cycles between the two, leading to a stalemate. The key to unlocking this paralysis is to stop viewing the decision as a massive, irreversible choice and start treating it as a small, manageable calculation. You need a mental checklist that eliminates the emotional noise and focuses only on the facts of the present moment and your pre-established plan. Before any purchase that causes hesitation, run through this simple clarity filter. 1. The 6-month test. Will this item or experience genuinely enhance my life or be meaningfully relevant 6 months from now? If the answer is a weak maybe or a definite no, the longevity of the joy is too short to justify the potential future cost. 2. The replaceability test. Could I achieve the same positive feeling or the same practical function using a resource I already own, or a less expensive alternative? If the answer is yes, you are seeking the novelty of the purchase, not the true value. 3. The pre-approval test. Does this expense fit neatly into the enjoyment bloom fund I have already allocated and secured? If you have to borrow from your anchor security fund to make the purchase, the answer is immediately no. Your self-imposed boundary provides the clarity. By applying this filter, you replace the confusing emotional tug-of-war with a clear, rational evaluation. The decision is made by the system you previously built with wisdom, not the impulse you feel in the moment. Building confidence through small wins. Trusting your judgment in large financial matters begins with building confidence through small, successful decisions. Many people lack financial confidence because they only pay attention to their financial mistakes. To shift this, you must deliberately recognize and celebrate your balanced choices. Whenever you successfully apply your clarity filter and choose not to buy an item, or choose a less expensive, high-value alternative, acknowledge that win. Quietly note the feeling of confidence and peace that decision brings. This is your brain learning that discipline creates positive emotions, a feeling far more sustainable than the high of a quick purchase. Similarly, when you make a planned, guilt-free purchase from your Bloom budget and feel genuine, lasting satisfaction, recognize that win, too. It teaches your brain that money can be a source of intentional joy, not just worry. Confidence is not an innate trait. It is a skill developed through consistent, small acts of self-trust. By consciously acknowledging your balanced choices, you build an internal reservoir of financial competence that cuts through indecision. Overcoming savings indecision. Indecision isn't limited to spending. It often paralyzes people around saving and investing as well. Should I invest this money now? Should I wait for a better opportunity? Is this enough to save? This hesitation prevents the growth of your security net. To overcome savings indecision, you must prioritize action over optimization. Waiting for the perfect time to save or invest is a form of procrastination. The single most important factor in building financial security is consistency, not perfect timing. If you are unsure where to put a portion of money, apply this simple rule, the holding account principle. If you are not certain where the money should go, savings or a specific investment, put it immediately into a high-yield holding account, a secure place where it is earning something and is protected from impulse spending. This achieves two things. One, it removes the money from your easily accessible checking account, protecting it from temptation. 2, it allows the money to immediately start working for you, reinforcing your value of security. The act of moving the money is the decision. You can then take a calm, thoughtful week or two to decide the final destination, but the risk of loss due to impulse is removed, bringing immediate peace and ending the mental debate. The beauty of a clear path. The goal of overcoming indecision is to achieve a quiet sense of certainty in your financial choices. When you have a clear plan, a deep understanding of your values, and the confidence born from small successes, financial decisions become less of a stressful debate and more of a natural flow. This clarity allows you to move with the grace and self-assurance that truly reflect a balanced, intentional life. You are not stuck between options. You are operating from a place of pre-established harmony. This internal peace is the most beautiful element you can add to your financial landscape. Reflection. Think of one financial decision you have been putting off for more than a week, either spending or saving. Apply the clarity filter to that decision right now. What is the single, most balanced action you can take in the next 24 hours to move off that stalemate? Commit to taking that one clear step. Chapter 10. The Art of Saying No Without Feeling Deprived. The pursuit of financial harmony requires a quiet yet powerful strength, the ability to decline gracefully. Sometimes balance means turning down the invitation, the impulsive purchase, or the quick thrill. For many, this act of saying no feels like punishment, a form of self-deprivation that diminishes enjoyment and creates social awkwardness. This chapter is about reframing that word. Saying no doesn't have to feel restrictive or mean-spirited. When executed with clarity and confidence, it is instead a profound act of self-respect, abundance, and peace preservation. It empowers you to decline gracefully while still feeling rich, secure, and fully in control of your choices. The power of the intentional no. When we struggle to say no, it's often because we are focused on the lack, what we are missing out on. But a financially mature no is always based on intention and abundance, what you are saying yes to. Every no to an unbalanced expense is a yes to one of your deeper, more meaningful values. No to the expensive weekend trip is yes to the long-term travel fund that will bring profound perspective. No to the impulse gadget is yes to the peace fund that protects your sleep. No to the costly dinner out is yes to the meaningful connection of a quiet evening at home with loved ones. Reframing the no this way shifts its emotional resonance entirely. You are not feeling deprived. You are feeling empowered because you are actively choosing your priorities and defending your inner balance. This is the difference between a reactive excuse and a confident choice. Saying no with grace and diplomacy. Because our financial lives are deeply interwoven with our social lives, the most challenging no's are often interpersonal. We fear causing offense, appearing cheap, or risking exclusion. The key is to deliver your boundary with calm sincerity and diplomatic deflection. When responding to a social invitation that is outside your financial comfort zone, use these techniques to maintain harmony. 1. Acknowledge and validate. Start by validating the invitation or the person's suggestion. That sounds like a spectacular idea, or I really appreciate you thinking of me. This shows respect and diplomacy. 2. State your priority, not your poverty. Follow up by stating your commitment, framing it as a positive choice you've made. Avoid phrases like, I can't afford it. Instead, use language like, I'm currently focused on a specific savings goal, or I've already allocated my fund budget for the month to a different commitment. This presents your decision as a strategic plan, not a failure. 3. Offer a balanced alternative. Immediately pivot and suggest a lower cost, high connection alternative. How about instead we skip that dinner and grab a coffee and take a walk on Sunday? I'd love to hear about it. This demonstrates that you value the connection over the expense, maintaining the relationship while upholding your boundary. When you offer a balanced alternative, you show that your no is directed at the expense, not the relationship. You are preserving the social harmony while maintaining your financial integrity. The anti-deprivation checklist. If you find yourself still struggling with the feeling of deprivation after saying no, you need an immediate corrective action. The feeling of lack must be swiftly replaced by a feeling of active abundance. Use this three-step anti-deprivation checklist to restore your sense of well-being. 1. Immediate reinvestment. Immediately transfer the money you would have spent into your savings anchor or a targeted prospective fund. Seeing the money actively working toward your long-term goal physically demonstrates the positive trade-off you just made. 2. Substitute with sensory pleasure. Find a free or low-cost sensory pleasure to substitute the high you declined. This could be brewing a special tea, reading in a sunny spot, taking a long bath, or listening to music. This trains your brain to find joy in non-consumption. 3. The gratitude inventory. Spend 5 minutes mentally or physically listing 5 things you already own or have access to that bring you joy and comfort. Focus on their enduring value. This practice reinforces that your life is already rich and full, countering the narrative of scarcity, defending your inner peace. Ultimately, the art of saying no is an act of defending your inner peace. Overspending creates anxiety and complicates your life with unnecessary debt and clutter. By saying no to these external pressures, you are choosing a simpler, calmer, more structured existence. A thoughtful no is an expression of dignity and respect for your future self. You are honoring the beautiful, intentional life you are building. This firmness and clarity are the most elegant forms of financial control. You are living by your own internal compass, not by the shifting tides of commercial or social pressure. Embrace the power of the well-placed no. See it not as closing a door on enjoyment, but as opening the door to lasting stability, allowing you to live abundantly within the framework you have gracefully chosen. Reflection. Think about a social scenario that frequently tempts you to overspend. Pre-write a 3-part graceful response using the acknowledge, state priority, offer alternative structure. Having this script prepared allows you to respond with calm confidence rather than impulse, securing your financial and emotional peace in that moment. This is the next chapter, focusing on rebuilding trust and establishing peace in the relationship with money, emphasizing inner calm, reconciliation, and confidence, continuing the reflective and measured tone. Chapter 11. Restoring peace in your relationship with money. When overspending becomes a pattern, it often disrupts more than just your bank balance. It shatters your inner peace. Money ceases to be a helpful tool and transforms into a source of chronic stress, temptation, and self-doubt. You may begin to dread checking your bank account, avoid financial conversations, or constantly feel a vague sense of dread about the future. This chapter is dedicated to the essential task of rebuilding trust with yourself and establishing a genuinely peaceful relationship with your financial habits. It is about learning techniques to restore calm and confidence so that money becomes a source of security rather than constant stress. Acknowledging the disruption. The first step toward peace is acknowledging the relationship you currently have with money. Is it one of constant vigilance? Is it fraught with avoidance? Does it feel adversarial, as if your money is constantly trying to slip through your fingers? When you repeatedly make choices that contradict your long-term goals, the overspending cycle, you essentially erode trust in your own judgment. The feeling of financial stress is often a direct result of this internal friction. Your wise self knows you are capable of better choices, but your impulsive self keeps overriding them. To rebuild this trust, you must treat your finances like a valuable, yet damaged relationship. It requires consistent, thoughtful attention and small, successful acts of repair. Reconciliation through small commitments. Reconciling with your money is not about achieving sudden, dramatic wealth. It's about achieving consistent, predictable behavior. You must prove to yourself, through small, repeatable actions, that you are now a reliable steward of your resources. Use the power of small financial wins to start this healing process. The Zero Balance Promise. Commit to zero new debt for a set period, perhaps a week or 1 month. Success in this small, clearly defined goal immediately boosts your confidence and demonstrates control. The Sacred Anchor Deposit. Ensure your automated savings investment contribution, your anchor, goes through on schedule, without fail. This is a non-negotiable act of self-loyalty that proves your commitment to your future peace. The Found Money Fund. Intentionally allocate any small, unexpected sums, a cash gift, a small refund directly into your savings. This habit trains your brain to associate unexpected financial events with security rather than immediate consumption. Each successful, small action is a tiny knot of trust being woven back into the fabric of your relationship with money. It quiets the internal noise of anxiety because you are actively demonstrating that you are in charge. The technique of calm visualization. Stress and anxiety are often rooted in catastrophic future thinking. What if I run out? What if I never get ahead? To restore calm, you must intentionally replace those stressful narratives with peaceful, accurate visualizations. Practice the calm future visualization technique. 1. Find a quiet, comfortable space. Close your eyes and take 3 slow, deep, centering breaths. 2. Imagine a serene image that represents financial peace to you. Perhaps it's a solid, beautiful building that represents your savings, or a vast, calm body of water that represents the flow of secure income. 3. Visualize yourself performing a simple, calm financial action, checking your bank balance and seeing the number exactly where it should be, or opening an investment statement and feeling a quiet sense of satisfaction. 4. Focus on the feeling of that moment, the lightness in your chest, the quiet hum of confidence, the absence of any dread. This is the internal experience of financial security. 5. Hold that feeling for a full minute. Repeat this practice daily, especially when you feel the first hints of anxiety or temptation. This technique uses your imagination to build a safe emotional haven around your money. It conditions your mind to associate financial awareness not with fear, but with calm competence. Money as a source of security. Your aim is to completely shift the emotional role money plays in your life. It must stop being a source of stress and start being a reliable source of security and potential. Security is not just a dollar amount. It is a feeling of safety that allows you to engage with the world more freely. When you use money to build security, every financial choice is viewed through the lens of protection and peace. Ask this simple question before any major financial decision. Does this choice increase or decrease my feeling of foundational security? This question cuts through the emotional haze of immediate wants and connects directly to your deepest need for stability. A choice that increases security, like adding to the emergency fund, brings a calm, enduring satisfaction. A choice that diminishes security, like an impulsive large purchase, brings a fleeting excitement followed by long-term anxiety. By consistently choosing actions that increase your security, you rebuild an unwavering trust in your own decision-making. This trust, this inner peace, is the true indicator of a beautiful, balanced relationship with money. When you are at peace with your finances, the management of them becomes effortless and integrated, no longer a battleground, but a quiet, dependable source of lifelong confidence. Reflection. Think about one physical or mental habit you currently use to avoid financial anxiety, e.g., ignoring bills, online shopping when stressed. Choose one small, non-stressful calm action, like a 5-minute visualization or a simple checking of one account, to substitute for that avoidance habit this week. Practice this substitution to immediately begin restoring peace and confidence in your financial awareness. This is the final chapter, tying together the themes of balance, joy, security, and harmony to conclude the ebook. Chapter 12, Living in Harmony with Wealth and Joy. We have journeyed through the subtle tug-of-war between present pleasure and future security. We have learned to identify the hidden costs of impulse, break free from the cycle of guilt, and redefine enjoyment as something intentional and lasting, rather than something simply consumed. Now we arrive at the final, most satisfying stage, living in true harmony, where enjoyment and financial security coexist not as rivals, but as essential partners in a beautiful life. The ultimate aim is to create a lifelong state of equilibrium, a steady, peaceful rhythm where your money serves as a dependable tool for creating a life of beauty, peace, and freedom. This chapter provides the framework for sustaining that elegant balance, the integration of security and joy. The moment you realize that security is the foundation for deeper joy, the entire relationship shifts. When your emergency fund, your anchor, is robust, you are free to truly enjoy the money you allocate for pleasure, your bloom without a shadow of worry. The security doesn't restrict your fun, it amplifies it. This integrated approach means recognizing the interconnectedness of all your financial choices. Mindful spending enhances security. When you stop the draining leakage of small, impulsive purchases, those funds naturally flow back into your anchor, strengthening your security. Strong security enables confident joy. When your base is stable, you can spend from your guilt-free budget with full presence and pleasure, maximizing the emotional return on every dollar spent. This is the circular, self-reinforcing pattern of true financial harmony. Every positive choice in one area gracefully supports the other. Your security allows your joy to be effortless. Your intentional joy makes your security feel worthwhile. The framework for lifelong stability. Maintaining this balance over time requires a few consistent, integrated habits that become second nature. This framework allows you to adapt to life's inevitable changes without tipping into chaos. 1. The non-negotiable commitment. Never deviate from your automated commitment to your savings and debt reduction. Treat this transfer as sacrosanct, a tax you pay to your future peaceful self. This consistency is the greatest guarantor of lifelong stability. 2. The intentional pause. Maintain the habit of the clarity filter before any major or impulsive purchase. Always step away from the point of temptation and ask, does this align with my values? Does it fit my pre-allocated budget? This pause preserves your autonomy and prevents emotional spending. 3. The annual calibration. Once a year, conduct a quiet, reflective review. Look at your financial progress, your current life goals, and your core values. Adjust the proportions of your anchor, structure, and bloom funds accordingly. Perhaps you need more for travel growth this year, or perhaps a stronger focus on retirement security. This regular calibration keeps your financial structure fluid and perfectly tailored to your evolving life. 4. The gratitude loop. Regularly acknowledge the comfort and opportunity your financial planning provides. Be grateful for the freedom from anxiety and the potential your resources represent. Gratitude anchors your relationship with money in a place of abundance, preventing the feeling of lack that fuels overspending. Money as a tool for creating beauty. Ultimately, money is a tool. In the hands of someone seeking harmony, it becomes an instrument for creating beauty in the world and peace in their own life. Financial beauty is expressed through clarity. Having clean, simple systems that are easy to understand and maintain. Proportion. Allocating resources fairly across the needs of the present, the responsibilities of the past, debt, and the security of the future. Generosity, using a portion of your wealth to contribute to the harmony and well-being of the wider community. Integrity, ensuring that your financial choices are a direct, honest reflection of your deepest, most cherished values. This perspective elevates your financial life from a mundane necessity to a creative, intentional practice. When money choices are made with elegance and thought, they enhance your existence, creating space for creativity, connection, and joy. Your final step, sustained confidence. You now possess the clarity and the tools to live in sustained financial balance. The final step is to fully embrace the confidence that comes from knowing you are capable of this elegant management. Trust your judgment. Trust the system you have built. You are no longer swayed by the shifting impulses of the market or the pressures of those around you. You are anchored by your own deep understanding of what creates a life of lasting fulfillment. Walk away from this journey knowing that the greatest wealth is not a number, but the unwavering peace that comes from perfectly balancing enjoyment and security. This is your foundation for a life lived not in constant reaction, but in beautiful, confident harmony. Reflection. Visualize your life 6 months from now, living fully in the balance we've discussed. What does your day feel like without the stress of financial worry? What simple, non-costly beauty are you able to appreciate fully because your mind is at peace? Commit to preserving that feeling every single day, recognizing that its value far exceeds any purchase.